Good evening, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon. Whenever you have time to listen to the show, this is episode 325 of the Late Night Vision Show, where we talk about everything, y'all, whether it's hog hunting, coyote hunting, predator hunting, you name it. If you can shoot it at night with a thermal or night vision, we are talking about it right here. And as always, for 324 weeks or 325 weeks in a row now, Jason, I can't, the number's off. I just said the
Not
episode
good at
number.
math.
I know. The owner of Outdoor Legacy, Jason Robertson. How's it going?
Man, it's going good. I tell you what, it is hard to believe 325. I mean, I don't think that's really that much different than last week at 324, but it's a nice number and it's hard to believe we've been sitting here doing it this long, but you know what? I
Yeah.
hope there's a bunch more to come.
And check out this transition. And the only reason that we've been able to do this for 325 weeks in a row is because of Outdoor Legacy and your business that we much appreciate. So if you're looking for a brand new night vision or thermal optic, you can give us a call, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. We review, we test all the optics that you find on the website. I know that a lot of people come here for reviews. We had a review last week, Jason, of the Infrared Outdoor M6T25, the vehicle mounted thermal. So if you are interested in something like that, you can check out the review. But you and I were talking about all the reviews that we have coming up. And we probably should mention that Tuesday of this week, AGM released 3 new monoculars, and it's the AGM Seeker line. The Seekers are replacing the Taipans. So you have the Seeker TM15, the TM19, the TM25. Jason, the great thing about that, the Seeker monoculars, is they run off of a removable, rechargeable 18650 battery. So as you know, with the Taipans, great monoculars, but the biggest negative was that it was an internal non-removable battery. So we're looking forward here to reviewing those Seekers very soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do have those Seekers. We've got them in stock. We've actually had demo units of those. Hans is using them now. I've had them for several weeks. So we are very familiar with them. Very good little optics, very good price point on them. So if you're looking for a good entry level, handheld thermal that's not going to break the bank, and you like the idea of removable 18650s, definitely give us a call about those Seekers. Those are good little units. So,
And I think it's also worth noting, because if you watch 2 Minute Tuesday, we also talked about the fact that the Infrared Outdoor RH25s are on sale. That's a great sale that's been going on for $39.99. When that optic came on the market, it was almost $6,000. It's on sale right now, and that optic, super popular. You can, if you haven't seen it, I'll show a picture, but really designed very well for a helmet mounted setup. But you can mount it on a rifle, you can use it as a handheld, you could even clip it in front of a daytime optic. Those are on sale, so a lot of people have been calling about those as well.
absolutely. There's a lot going on right now this summer. There's more optics coming. There's just all kinds of things shaking up in the industry, and we're excited. It's hard to believe that we're right here at August. I do this every year. I guess the older I get, I don't know where the summer went, but man, it's flown by quickly. And I tell you, it's not going to be long. We're going to be gearing up for fall. And guys, listen, there's going to be, I know we keep saying this, good Lord willing, something crazy doesn't happen, we're doing a review for next week. That is the plan for next week. Hans, should we tell them what it is, or are we going to leave ourselves an out in case we don't get it done for some crazy reason?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much locked in for
Okay,
that show next
all
week.
right.
Yeah, you can go ahead and tell them.
All right, good. Well, we're planning to review something that we really haven't reviewed on this show before. And this type of optic it's going to be the AGM Rattler V2 version 2 256 resolution thermal scopes. There's the TS19 and the TS25 256. We're going to review both of those at once. And this is going to be a big show because we have not ever reviewed a 256 resolution thermal optic on this show. We'll talk about the reasons next week when we do the review of why we haven't done it before and why we're kind of changing our stance and doing it now. And it's I'm going to say this. This is not an across the board. What's the word I'm looking for? we're not saying that every 256 optic out there is fantastic. What we are saying is that we think AGM has done a bang up job with these, and we think for the price point and what they're offering, they've got something pretty cool. And I think y'all need to check that out. We're going to give you the most honest, realistic review of those that's out there. We're gonna be completely honest with you, as we always are, and tell you what we think they can do and what they can't do, who they're good for and who they're not good for.
Yep.
So that's next week. This week we're gonna do something a little bit different. We've taken a few weeks over the course of these 325 weeks of doing this, and sometimes we've talked about political stuff, Second Amendment related stuff, conservative politics. And I know some people say, man, why are y'all getting into politics and whatever? But listen, let's be honest about it. If you are a gun owner, if you're a hunter, then politics matter. Unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. But there's a lot of stuff going on, but we want to talk about that has been going on, Second Amendment related. And now with the election, obviously we've got a presidential election coming in November, and it is. Hans, can we say it's a circus? I think it's kind of been the summer circus. I mean, I'm like, where's the elephants and the peanuts this summer?
It's crazy. It seems like, and we'll get into the politics, but it seems like every cycle, every 4 years, it just gets more and more to a boiling point. I mean, it is, and it is a spectacle. And I know a lot of it has to do with media coverage, and the media kind of turns it into like their Super Bowl. But this cycle is obviously with what happened to Trump.
Twists and turns. But.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, let's get into this first. So I want to talk about a couple things. We'll get to the politics in a minute. And if you don't want to hear that, you can turn it off before we get there. But we're just going to give an overview of some of the things that are going on and kind of our general thoughts on it. But here's a big deal. And this is something that we wanted to address. And Hans and I have been talking about this for a while. And I think we've just kind of gotten to the point that, okay, let's give an update. And there's not much of an update, but let's do this. So back in February of 2023, so I guess about a year and a half ago now, episode 249, we had our buddy Jim Willi at the Jim Willi law firm in Austin. Jim is a renowned attorney who is an expert on all things NFA, National Firearms Act, anything that has to do with laws concerning guns. He is the man. Jim is he's a friend of ours. He's done gun trust for both you and I, and really, really good guy, super knowledgeable. But we had Jim on. Actually, that was our second time, I believe, having Jim on. We had him on once before,
we had him on
at
very beginning of the show. We've had him on twice. I saw him at the NRA show a couple months ago, and it was you and I've only talked to him on the phone and over Zoom, but actually saw him in person and didn't even know he was going to be there. He actually had a booth set up. And he said, you would be amazed how many people call him and say, hey, I saw you on the Late Night Vision show, and call him up to get stuff done. So thanks to the audience for calling him. But yeah, he knows his stuff for sure.
So he does. So we had him on again about a year and a half ago. And that is when the whole pistol brace on the AR-15s, the SBR short barrel rifle, the ATF had come out with this ruling. Really, really confusing. It was confusing then, and it's confusing now. So I'm going to put this in a nutshell of where we were then. And where we were was this ruling that came out said that if you had an AR-15 style rifle with a barrel below 16 inches, and you had one of these braces, as we called them, or maybe let's call them now braces, where I'm just be honest with y'all, it looks like a stock, it functions kind of like a stock, but it's called a brace. All right, you're supposed to strap this thing on and shoot like a pistol.
It was definitely designed to skirt the rules. I guess push it to
Yeah,
right there
there's
to the
no
line.
doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt what this thing, these braces were designed for. We all know that. So the ATF basically came out and said, nope, we're going to reclassify this. These braces are not going to be legal. These are going to be short barrel rifle, or SBR. And so it's not illegal to have an SBR in the U.S. as long as you have the proper NFA stamp on it. And so you pay a $200 tax. You got to submit all your details. You get this tax stamp, and you can legally own it. No different than owning a suppressor. Is it stupid? Absolutely. Is there any reason we should have to do it? No. But it doesn't matter. That is what it is. We can't, we can all agree that it's dumb, but that's the way right now that the law works, and it has all the way since the 30s when the NFA was passed. So I'm thinking about that. That's almost 100 years. That's about how long it's been going on. Seems crazy. Weird to say. When I say the 30s, I didn't realize we're closer to the next century than the last. But so with that, Jim came on, was talking to us about what this process was of getting all these short barreled or again, pistols at the time, reclassified as SBRs. You had a choice. You could take the brace off. You could have no brace on it. It's truly a pistol. Only way you could use it is a pistol, or you could make it back into a rifle. Put a 16-inch or longer barrel on it, and you're good to go. Or the ATF was supposedly going to offer us a tax stamp for free. There was going to be this grace period. I think it was like until the end of May or something like that. And you basically had to go on, fill out all the paperwork, and you get a free $200 tax stamp. Again, your rifle, or what I guess now would be a rifle, would be a SBR. And so that was kind of what was going on. It was a big deal because there's so many of these AR pistols with these braces out there, just piles of them. Hans and I both had a bunch of our own.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, in a nutshell, here's what's happened. A lot of people said, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep it, and I'll, whatever. They can come get me. A lot of people said, well, I'm going to take mine apart, and I'm not going to have this anymore. It's not going to be illegal, but I'm just not going to have it. A lot of people said, you know what? I'm going to put my 16-inch barrel back on there. Forget it. No big deal. Then a whole lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people, said, you know what? I don't want to do something, get picked up somewhere with this thing, go to jail. But I really, really like this short barrel. I'm going to go through the hassle of filling out the paperwork. I'm going to get the stamp on it, and, I'm going to move forward. And that's what lots of people did. And for a little bit, people started getting these tax stamps back. And interesting is when they started coming back, down on the bottom, it would say something about being provisional. Like this was unexpected. Nobody was talking about what does provisional mean? Well, come to find out, what provisional meant, again, this is according to kind of the NFA experts and attorneys, is there was some fine print that basically said if anything ever gets overturned with this, this is a provisional tax stamp under these current rules. If something happens and this gets wiped out, you don't have an SBR anymore. You don't get this free tax stamp. You go back to having a pistol with no tax stamp. And so
it's almost like the ATF knew that this wasn't going to fly. It's like they planned for it. They knew from the beginning that this was never going to hold up in any type of, if it ever went to Supreme Court or whatever. But that was very strange.
So what's happened in the meantime is nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Everybody, they stopped processing these new, again, provisional SBR stamps, these applications. They just quit processing them as far as we can tell. I mean, we're going down the road now. It's been over a year since the cutoff date. Nobody's getting them anymore. They have not said anything official. It's just fallen by the wayside. And there's lots of stuff you can go read about. There's YouTube videos, and there's people saying, hey, this judge said this, and this. But it's just, there's been no hard official, hey, it's over, guys. Just kidding. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's just fallen away.
Something like I did see that some judge did put a stay on it or whatever, but it's just sitting out there in limbo. There are people, you're right. There are people that went along and went through the tax stamp process and filed their paperwork. There are people that just took their rifles apart completely. There are people that swapped them over to 16-inch barrels. I've heard of guys, that went through a lawyer and, they brought in 20 rifles to be, processed, for a tax stamp. And there's good reason. I understand why people did that, for people that travel, with their, with their rifles and they're going out of state. I mean, if you drive around a lot, that's understandable why you might
or you're in our line of work where you're posting pictures of your stuff out
there
there with,
exactly.
Online.
We're putting it out there. And if you don't think ATF isn't paying attention to what we're doing on social media, then you got another thing coming. But yeah, it is just, everything's just kind of hanging out there in limbo, and all of this work that people did to get, to get these tax stamps done, it's just like a water faucet with the faucet turned off. It's just nothing, no word, nothing. Where do we go from here? And I think that with what the ATF did, I think it's just one of those things where they just tried to see what they could do. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around. Jason, this was the biggest news in our industry back a year and a half ago. That's all everybody was talking about. I mean, you turn on any forum, Facebook forum, online social media posts, because these short barrel rifles are probably more popular in the night hunting world than any other, maybe the tactical, but the night hunting, hog hunters especially, most of us do have these shorter rifles. And, it was the biggest news of, man, what do we do? And I don't know. I will say I'm glad that it's just kind of disappeared and gone. I mean, that's a good thing. I wish we didn't have to go through that to begin with. And, the whole thing is just stupid to begin with. But the question is, what do we go from here? Is it just like, okay, this is done and it's never going to come back up? Is our, the paperwork just sitting there and one day it will get, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. And to put a wrap on it, I'll say this. I was trying to look there just for a second. I remember going back with, when Jim Willi was on, we had some kind of estimate, we did, whatever that, somebody was giving estimates of how many of these AR pistols they thought were out there in the U.S. I don't remember, but it's millions. Okay, we're not talking about just a few, it's millions of them. And there was also a whole nother debate of people like, I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to register it and I'm not going to whatever. I don't know. I mean, I don't like it, but my opinion is that if you bought it through a legit source, they know you got it. If you got a suppressor, it's the exact same thing. They know you got it. Like, I don't like any of it, but I don't know. It is what it is. But at this point, I'm with you. We're kind of back to this la la land. And, I've talked to a couple guys that said, listen, I'm just going to pay the $200. I'm going to put an SBR on these. I'm going to get the stamp. I'm going to be done with it. Now I can do whatever I want. No matter what the law does, I've got the stamp, I've got the SBR, I'm legal. I think most people have said, I don't know, nothing's going on. And, so we're just going to keep using them as they are.
There's a lot of people right now that are going to the backyard and they're able now to dig their rifles back up out of that waterproof, storage bucket that they put them in.
Exactly. So
they can dig back up their rifles.
That's right. So it's strange. I don't know, but for whatever it is, I'm going to shift gears. So I think we don't have a affirmative, like, the ATF saying, oops, sorry, we screwed up. But I kind of think the lack of doing anything for over a year now, it's kind of what it is. We're kind of back to where I think we were before. So that's good news in and of itself. At least it didn't all stay the way that it was. But another thing on a good news topic, is these darn suppressors are getting approved so quickly for individuals. Now, I'm going to say this real quick, Hans. I'm going to let you talk about this. I think you know a little more about this than I do, but one thing that I think it is important that for my little bit of research, all of my suppressors have been bought through my trust. I think yours as well.
Yep.
The trust is I think those times on approvals are maybe from what I was reading in that 4 to 6 months, or maybe people getting them sooner, some people getting them longer. I've never had a suppressor approved for my trust in under 13 months. I've gotten completely unlucky every single time. Everybody goes, "Oh man, they're 8 months right now." Well, call me in 15 months and we'll talk about it. That's every time. So now it's probably truly really short because I don't have any that I'm out there waiting on. But the guys that are getting them as individuals, Hans, how quick is it right now?
Man, you're hearing like 8 days, 10 days. I mean, 2 weeks basically is what it seems, that number that seems to come back. And if you are in the business right now of selling suppressors, all I want to know is, can I borrow $50? Because I know you got it. If you're selling suppressors right now, you are making bank. You are the king of the industry right now, and life is good because
good for you.
Yeah, if you pick the right business at the right time. Yeah, suppressor sales are just through the roof. I think everybody that was going to buy a thermal scope now has bought like 3 suppressors instead, and they're going to buy a thermal scope later, which is great. We'd love to have your business. But with that, so yes, Jason is correct. We went through the trust process with Jim Willi, and we should probably put his contact information in the description just for somebody that,
we'll do
if you want to get a trust done. We did it that way. I'm not saying it's the right way. We felt like it's the right way just because
it's the right way.
It's the right way. It is the longer process. Mine is the same way. My suppressors took no less than 12, 13 months. So I was in the same boat as you. Now we do plan still to have Ryan Killian with Silencer Co. Suppressors on the show. We're going to do an interview with him. It'll be our first real show dedicated to Suppressor Talk. He got ill last week. He was supposed to be on the show last week. Got ill, picked up a bug, and then so we had to kind of switch some things around. We do still plan on having him on the show. But yes, these what they're called single shot or individual suppressors. Basically, you are purchasing the suppressor that's going to be tied to you forever instead of going through a trust. So when you go through a trust, and Jason, I may not be explaining this correctly.
I cannot wait for your legal Zoom answer here.
So basically, when you have a trust, it's just, you think of any type of estate trust. Whenever it is a plan for you, whenever you pass away, if you have an estate trust, when you die, it basically tells the government, I don't know, tells people where your belongings go. That's the same way with a gun trust and with for your suppressors. When you pass away, it legally allows the beneficiary in your trust to take legal possession of that suppressor or short barrel rifle or whatever you have tied to the trust. Now, we did it that way because we know at some point we're going to pass away and we're still going to have all these items. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, one more thing I just want to say, I know we didn't intend to get into the whole individual versus trust, but I do want to make a point is that the other thing that a trust does is that suppressor, as it is with an individual, is tied to you. Hans, you're the only person who can legally have possession of that. But with the trust, I can have multiple people on the trust. And if you get a really good trust like Jim Willi makes, I can actually take my suppressor, I can take a single piece of paper, and I can put you on my trust. I can give you all my suppressors. You can go shoot them all weekend, do whatever you want to do with them, bring them back to me on Monday. I can tear that piece of paper up. You're no longer on my trust, but you could have legally had those. My kids could have them. My wife could have them. My buddies could, whatever. There's a lot of things, not just for when I pass away, but for right now that makes it not only safer, but also way more convenient of being able to get more use out of them. And again, that's the whole, but
that's a good point.
I understand there's a lot of people though, the idea of, okay, but I can do this as an individual, and you're telling me I can have the suppressor, by
Yeah,
Friday.
that's the
sign
yeah.
me up for that.
That
Just
that's
sign
the
me up.
that's the tempting part, because the whole negative part of buying suppressors is waiting 12 months when you do it through a trust. And yeah, you're right. That you brought up a good point. Not just a plan for when you die. You can, like Jason said, somebody else could legally take possession of that forever, however many amount of time you want to dictate that.
Right.
But I've got my brother-in-law on my trust. I've got my wife and kids, so that way when I do pass away, that it can legally go to them. Now with a single shot, or individual, whenever you pass away, I don't know. I guess that the ATF owns that can. Now, I don't know. Who knows? I guess they could have legal right to
Jim
come in
can
and get
tell
it.
you, and it's not fun.
I hate to guess. I don't know. But basically, once you pass away and you have that as an individual, that has to be turned over to the ATF, is what I've been told. That nobody else can take possession of that suppressor at all.
Yeah, so I don't want to. I don't.
The comments are going to be like,
I know.
on
That's why I'm trying to butt in here, because I know the comments going to control. What it's been explained by Jim to me, because I asked that question, was that legally, yes, if you have this an individual, you die, your wife, with her possession of that, by the letter of the law, is a felon under the NFA, because now she has possession of it. She cannot legally own that. At that point, it would need to be in the hands of a Class 3 FFL holder. So they could have possession of it at that point. And then she would have to go through the process of doing the form again to get that put into her name or whoever's name is going to own or buy that. So all the paperwork had to be done again. And I know we did not intend to go down this road. And again, this is a great, we'll have Jim on talk about these again. But these individual individuals, are great until you die. And then it's not you who's going to mess with it, but somebody's going to be left with a mess. And I think there's probably a lot of gun safes that got suppressors in them. And, the man, whoever owned them, the husband, he's passed away. And the kids probably don't even know what they got in there. And the wife doesn't either. And it's going to be a mess one day. But it is what it is. But like you said, you can't blame a guy that goes, man, I really have been wanting a suppressor. And I hear these guys are waiting, a year to get one. And I can go get one in a week or 2 weeks or a few days. Sign me.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've been tempted myself. I'm like, oh man, I'd like to have a 22, suppressor to put on my. And I'm like, oh man, I could get that quick. So, one thing that we haven't talked about in a long time, and we'll get on to political talk here in a minute. You remember when Texas passed the law that if a suppressor was manufactured in Texas and you live in Texas and it's, I guess, basically not going outside the state, that you could legally, through Texas law, have that suppressor and not have to register it or do any type of stamps, whatever, through the ATF. That took off like a fat pig trying to fly off the ground, because I don't know anybody that is really pushing that at all. Texas suppressor companies, which I know there are some, I don't know of anybody, and I might be wrong, that is buying a Texas suppressor, not, filing it through the ATF and just keeping, I don't know anybody. That really did not take off at all.
So I think that's a whole nother discussion, and I know we didn't plan to go there. I think the concern there, from my understanding, is that nobody wanted to be the guys manufacturing those. Okay, the one thing that Texas law said was that Texas law enforcement from local, city, state could not even assist the federal government in an investigation into it. So let's say that somebody said, hey, Hans has got one, a suppressor with no stamp on it. It's illegal. And they came in here and they go to the DPS and said, hey, we got to go find this guy. We need to, serve this warrant. Y'all got to help us. We cannot legally help you. They go to your local, sheriff's department and go, hey, we're going to go raid this guy's house. They cannot legally help. So that was really a cool thing to add into there. But my understanding is that nobody wanted to be the guy that's out here making them and selling them, because there's where the ATF was definitely going to go first, and that was that was an easy big target. So
man,
you're right. We haven't heard much about it.
I remember buddies being like, "Oh man, it is on. You know, we're going to be getting all these suppressors, and you know, nothing, man, nothing at all." Well, so that's suppressor talk again, y'all. Y'all might get in the comments and say y'all have no idea what you're talking about. You may halfway be true about that. We may not know exactly what we're talking about. We feel like we have a general grasp. I was telling Jason
Express last night.
Yeah, I was telling Jason about something we were talking about recently, and it's remember the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think you know enough to be right, but you really don't know enough about a subject to know when you're wrong. That might be what's going on right now.
There's a lot of that.
Let's talk about. We'll let Ryan Killian from Silencer come on and talk about suppressors.
We'll talk to
Let's
Ryan
Let's talk about what happened with President Trump a couple weekends ago. Let's start there.
Yeah. So I'm speechless. Okay. I mean, there's no need for me rehashing this. Everybody knows there was an attempted assassination attempt. I'm just speechless that it happened. Now, listen, Hans and I already talked about this before the show. We know that there's plenty of conspiracy theories out there. I can say this, and we're not going to go down the conspiracy theory road. What we're going to say is this: at the very best case, it was a colossal failure by what is supposed to be the most elite security force in the world, protecting what is considered to be the most important man in the world. And it was a colossal failure. And not that somebody couldn't ever shoot at a president. I mean, that's, I get it. I mean, there's you could be far enough away to whatever, but this was a colossal failure at under 150 yards. There's some kid on a roof. So it was just, and then it was a mess even after that with the Secret Service after the shots. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to armchair quarterback every single bit of it. I'm just going to say that was a disaster.
So yeah, you're right. This wasn't some like elite, sniper.
This wasn't even a mall cop.
This was a kid that, probably hopped up on a roof with a pair of Crocs on. We don't know, this wasn't like, God's gift to snipers or anything, yes. So we did find out that the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, when we say all these names, this video is going to be so flagged on YouTube. Just keep saying it.
Yeah,
but she did resign a couple days ago, which was good. This was like you said, and I think that there was a bipartisan push for her to resign. This was not from Republicans, conservatives. This was both sides that were saying that she needs to go, because if the president is not safe, whether they are a Democrat or a Republican, that's not good for anybody. And I don't think people realize how close we were to something really bad, not just happening to President Trump, but think about what had happened if he was shot and killed, and what might have happened as far as retaliation, which is terrible to think about. But the country might have gone up in flames because of it, and we were an inch away from that happening, and that a person being able to climb on the roof at 150 yards and have a direct line of sight towards the president is just not acceptable. And like I said, regardless of politics, I think everybody in our audience knows which way that we lean, but I don't care if it was Trump up there or Biden. It doesn't
President
matter.
Biden. I don't want any. I don't. We need to protect the president. Okay. Whoever it is,
for the safety of our country, and not just abroad, but here, in our own territory. But
so,
go ahead.
I want to say something here, and this is something that I don't think that I could. I don't want to use the word appreciate, but I quite understood early on. And again, there's really, it's been pretty amazing. We don't have as many details about this shooter
I
as
know.
I thought that we would. And
Makes
again,
me wonder like what's going on. And I'm
I
not a
don't, yeah,
conspiracy theorist, but
no,
like,
no,
okay, it's like the
but
Las
let me
Vegas
just say
shooter,
this.
you know?
There's one thing that, and again, guys, you know where I don't, when I say impressed or what, I don't mean that, but shocked. Maybe here's the word. So I'm first thinking like, okay, how do you have your one chance and you miss the guy? You hit him in the ear. Well, then I learn a little bit more, and I don't know much about this whole thing. I mean, they haven't given us all the details, but here's what we've seen from, videos from cell phones and that sort of thing. You've got this kid, and I'm sorry, I'm an older guy. Hans and I are getting closer to 50 than we are, 40. So
Speak for yourself. Go ahead.
you're older than me by a few months. So he's a kid. I'm sorry, he's 20 years old. Whatever, he's a kid to me. This kid gets up there, climbs up on this roof. He's got people hollering at him.
Yeah.
People trying to get the cops at him.
Yeah.
I don't know how hot that tin roof had to be. And I know that, Pennsylvania is not like Texas, but it's still got to be hot. It's a bright, sunny day. He's up there with people trying to alert law enforcement that he's up there hollering
And screaming, yelling,
hollering
he's
and
on
screaming.
the roof with a rifle. Yeah.
And he lays down on gotta be a hot tin roof. And he's taking a shot at a human being, which I don't care whether you're, if you're that sniper who killed him, there's still that in you. I'm aiming at another human being. Okay. And this kid was not a sniper trained. All right. And so he's aiming not just at a human, at the president. He's under pressure. And looking at this video, from what it appears to me, he has iron sights on an AR style rifle at 100 and something yards. And he has got a moving target and he clips his ear. The more that I know now, I'm like, that's actually much better shooting. I mean, he didn't have a scope.
Did he not? I think there's some conflicting reports on that because I heard that he did, and I've also heard that he did.
Maybe
I don't
he
know.
did.
I don't know.
Maybe he did have a scope. I saw a video and somebody sent me, and again, I don't know. It showed him sitting up there, and it did not look like he had a scope. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I don't know. But
that's one of the things is like kind of the mystery behind it. Why don't we know? I mean, why hold this information back? Why, they had a hearing with the director of Secret Service on Capitol Hill. And one of the congressmen, I don't know who it was, basically said, we are finding out more information about the circumstances surrounding the event and the shooter through YouTube than we are through your department. Yeah. I mean, so that's where everybody's having to get their news because they're not sharing anything. No. And that's, that's the alarming part of this whole situation is just not knowing. Obviously, everybody wants to know his political affiliations. It looks like it's, they said he was registered as a Republican, but donated money to some liberal causes.
Who knows?
They say that he was only registered as Republican because he wanted to vote against Trump in the primary. We don't know. The kid, it was just a kid, obviously messed up in the head and tried to do something that would have changed the course of history, no doubt. But you look at all the people in the past that all did something like this. They're somewhat, deranged. Yeah, they're deranged people.
Back to my comment about whether he had a scope or not. Kid made a way better shot than I would have expected. And I'll say this, I'm not going to name any names, but I've been hunting with some of you guys on some hogs at 40 yards with a $5,000 thermal scope. And let me just say this, y'all ain't got no room to be talking
Man,
about shooting. I'm just
So you know what? I don't know if
could
this was a
not
shot
resist.
at me because I probably
No,
hunted with
it
you
was
more
not a
than
shot
anybody
at
in the
you.
last
I was
several
just
years.
joking.
And
I was
I
joking.
mean, I do. There are some of y'all out there that need some help with that, but
I
we
was
all do.
joking. No, but so moving on from this, I know we're talking about this. So now, really, what are the bigger implications? We moved past this. Thankfully, Trump is safe.
Biden's out.
Now we
Dropped out.
have President Biden, who has stepped down on Sunday from running, and at the recording of this show, it kind of looks like, I don't know, maybe that it's going to be Vice President Kamala. That's kind of the way things are leaning. I don't know. We'll find out. But here's the concern that I have today. So let's, again, we're going to just take what happened to President Trump out of this, President Biden stepping down. Here's where my concern comes in today. And this is where this all really comes back to. If we talk about, we take all the other issues that as conservatives, we would be concerned about. But if we bring it back to this show, we're concerned about the Second Amendment, the ATF, and we started talking about that, and so the one thing that we had with President Biden is we know that he definitely was not pro-gun or pro-Second Amendment. He's on the record plenty of times saying the things he would like to do, but for 3 years he didn't really do much. He didn't. I mean, when it comes to the Second Amendment, there wasn't a lot of negative laws passed. I mean, what it could have been. He didn't. That wasn't his big platform. So
He would make the
not to say
line.
that
He would say the lines if there was a shooting. He would say, carry the liberal mantle of we got to get rid of guns.
Correct.
But he never really made a lot of push within Congress or anything. And I think he knew that it was probably not going to go anywhere. But man alive, the Kamala Harris is left of President Biden for sure. She's pretty
or
far
whoever
left.
else they might get could be.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't her, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the unknown.
Yeah. It's looking like it's going to be her. I mean, she's pretty much. They said that she has locked up all the delegates. She is right now sitting here, the presumptive nominee. Obviously, they've got to go to the convention, but all of President Biden's delegates have now pledged her to her. So she's got that. She's got the access to the what they call the war chests or the funds that have been raised. So it would be a miracle if she didn't end up being the nominee.
Correct.
And there's going to be obviously a big push on media because they, obviously the liberals feel way far behind at this point with Biden and the slip ups there. But yes, this does. The Second Amendment is definitely going to be under assault under a Harris presidency or administration. There's no doubt about it. She's much further left of the political aisle than even President Biden. I think President Biden, in his earlier in his presidency, we still thought that there was something going on with him. But he would definitely talk about gun stuff and how it needs to go away. But I think he was a pragmatist, meaning he really focused on what he thought he could get done instead of just, talking about things that were, things that liberals wanted to hear. But, Jason
Yes.
and I, we get sucked into politics every 4 years. I probably do a little bit more than him. He's focuses his time and energy on better things. You come to me like, what's going on?
Yeah, after Rush Limbaugh died, I was just like, you know what? That's where I.
I tell you, there are some really good voices on the right out there that I follow. That are very smart, intelligent. They don't get caught up in all the some of the stuff that you get sidetracked on when it comes to politics. But we do have I think we have a good shot this year to retake the presidency. Both the Senate and the House. I think we have a good shot of really doing all of it. We just have to keep this momentum going and just hope that good Lord willing, like you say, that we're on the right side of this thing. But that is that's political. That's about as political talk as we get around here. We don't get too wrapped up in anything more than that.
No, and it is. I mean, again, you and I have, conservative politics and issues outside of the Second Amendment that are very important to us. But in this industry, and our listeners, they're hunters and they're shooters, and so these are the issues that we know are important to us, and they're going to be important to all hunters and all shooters. I mean, we do want to protect our rights that we do have, via the Constitution, and so it is important of
Yeah.
not only who's sitting in the White House, but like you said, I mean, who the the Senate is. I mean, it's
It's
House
important,
Representatives
and
is very, very important. And so anyway, I mean, we don't have to tell y'all. Y'all are adults. You're grown men and women, and all we can do is go to the polls and vote. And so anyway, guys.
Well, I'll just say, there's everything. There's so few people that can be swayed either way these days. I mean, it's pretty much drawn down. I'm not going to be talked out of my beliefs. A Democrat or not going to be talked. You're just, anyway. But hey, we thank y'all for being with us today on the show. This has been a little bit of talk about some politics, about some suppressor stuff, some SBR. What the heck happened to SBRs? We don't know, but we're happy that it's just kind of swept under the rug now. We're going to get back, like Jason said, we got a lot of reviews. We did a list. We came up with a list, and it's as long as my arm as far as all the optics that we're reviewing. And we're out hustling, trying to get as much video as we can. And
And guys, and I'll be real quick. I'll just say this. I can tell you what the holdup is. It's not a conspiracy. It's the fact that I don't have any hogs right now. That's the issue. I do not have on the place that I live. I haven't seen a hog in 3 months, not one single hog. I've got another farm up the road that I've got just a very few hogs, very sporadic.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get a lot of footage for you, but this time of year, it's tough to pattern hogs. The hogs can go hole up down in these creek bottoms. Also, we're also fighting tall grass. I mean, in these
tall
hay
grass,
fields, when you get hogs, all you can see is their back. And so we've had a lot of rain this summer, which is a blessing. We've had, again, more rain than we've had in several summers, but that just means the grass is taller, pastures are taller, hay fields it's been a tough summer, but we're going to get in there and we're going to get you all those reviews coming as soon as we can.
I got plenty of hogs that are just really close, which is great. Makes for a great video, but we need to show a difference. A hog at 20 yards and 200. We're working on it. So we will get those reviews pumped out. Again, if you're looking for a night vision or thermal optic, you can give me a call and we can talk about it. 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. A lot of you say, hey, you told me to call, and I'm calling. So thank you for doing that. You can find all of our past episodes at latenightvision.show.com, on YouTube, on Spotify, all the podcast apps out there. And you can find Jason, Outdoor Legacy, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find me at Hans ETX on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And that is it. Sign us off.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this show. Hope to see y'all again here next week, next Thursday. Between now and then, y'all stay safe.